Hello and welcome to Unshakable with Human Design. I'm your host, Nicole Lano, and you and I are here today to just have a little conversation about type. I realized when I was planning some of these episodes, and we have a bunch that I was kind of batching and planning, and I realized we never did a real run on type. We've talked about human design type. Obviously, it's something we bring up all the time on the show, but I never dove deep into each of the types on their own and did them all. So we're going to do a little series here. We're going to go through each of the types. We're going to dedicate an episode to each one of them. So you guys have this. I love these little blocks because I feel like it's our opportunity to go deep into one thing. Whereas otherwise we're bringing up topics. A lot of times I bring them up just based on what I'm in response to and what I'm excited about and what's, aha moments I'm getting, and I bring them to the show, or I think that they would be valuable to you. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're put together in a way where you can dive in deep into one piece. We do it on occasion, but in general, that's not what a podcast does. So we wanted to take you through this little journey through type. We're going to do that over there's only 5 of them. So it's 5 episodes, which is only 2 weeks on this show because we do 2 episodes a week. So this will be quick. But we also have right now something really cool that we're doing alongside of this, that if you're interested in human design and you're interested specifically in growing an aligned and profitable business, if you're interested in that, we have a secret podcast that we've put together just completely on its own, where similar to these series that we do, if you like when we dive in deep into one thing, this is all on business and human design. And it's kind of like the process and me diving in differently than I do in my workshops, but kind of a similar sort of vibe of where I'm taking you deep into these conversations around what it really takes to grow to $10,000 a month, $20,000 a month, $30,000 a month, and how human design fits into all of that. What do you need to really make that happen? I know many of our listeners are entrepreneurs, so we created this basically a human design for business secret podcast. So if you would like that, DM me the word secret podcast on Instagram. I'm at Nicole Lano Official, or go to nicolelano.com/secret podcast, and you can get the link there. We'll set you up with all of that. It's totally free. And you can binge to your heart's content. We just thought that would be really fun. So if you want to do that, just go and, we'll also link this up in the show notes for you. Okay. So let's get to type. Let's talk about what we're going to be talking about. We're going to talk about type, and we're going to start with the Manifestor first. And I could have started with the generators, but I was like, let's mix it up a little bit. We haven't done a Manifestor specific episode in a while. And I find all of the types fascinating, but I really find Manifestors fascinating. Whenever I work with them, there's always this, my job is really to get out of the way and to open them up a lot, because they are very self-actualized. I very rarely have a manifestor who doesn't take action. It doesn't mean it doesn't happen, but usually the people who I work with, they're pretty determined people just by nature. So manifestors, first of all, we'll do the high level stuff. What makes somebody a manifestor? A manifestor in human design, so there are 5 types, of course. And the reason that we are doing this series is because type is so important. And I want to make this really clear. It's not about identifying with yet another label. Oh, I'm a manifestor, so I can't do this. I'm a manifestor, so it has to be like this. My rule of thumb, anything that's can't do or have to is something to examine, because it's usually BS that we're telling ourselves. But it does give us this really clear framework of, I have certain tendencies as this type of person. It doesn't make me those tendencies. It doesn't mean that I am those things, but these are things, these are patterns, these are traits, these are characteristics, these are ways that are going to kind of constantly show up for me. And all of human design is that. We can tend to start to identify with things like, I could say things like, I'm a cross of dominion, I am this, I am that. We tend to put the I am in front of things. I am a 5-1 manifesting generator. That's true. That is what my design says, but I'm more than that. And what that means for me is if I look at it from a place of objectivity and not from a place of labeling myself or limiting myself with those things, to just see and observe certain behaviors that I will kind of constantly have. It does give us this framework for our own brand of self-mastery. Now, there will be people in the foundational, traditional human design world that will challenge me on that. But that human design isn't meant for productivity. It's not meant for business. It's not meant for, all the things basically that I talk about it being for. And I understand that point of view. And I understand that in a perfect world, we would all just live our design and we wouldn't need money and we wouldn't need to feed ourselves and everything would just be taken care of for us. And we would just observe and we'd truly be the passenger in our life, passenger consciousness. We let our design take us where it will and we sit back and we enjoy the ride, come what may. But I don't know. We don't live in that world, really. And maybe that's my limitation. Maybe it's my limitation as a manifesting generator to see things through work and to see things through productivity and to see things through, manifesting a vision. Maybe that's my limitation. I get it. But this is ultimately how I teach it, because most of us live in the material world and we do have to make money, feed ourselves. We want to be good people. We want to be good citizens. We want to make our impact in the world. And that is what being a manifestor is all about. A manifestor is going to be a super impact-driven person. So now, how does this all happen? We get our human design chart. How do you become a manifestor? A manifestor means you do not have a sacral defined. So your sacral center will be white. But another motor, the ego, the root, or the emotional system, the solar plexus, will be defined and it will be connected directly or indirectly to the throat center. Meaning that energy that comes from inside your body, from a motor that's yours, consistently pumping, will have energy flowing directly or indirectly to your throat center. That's what it means. That's how you become a manifestor. No sacral, motor to the throat. That's how we do it. Energy wants to be communicated. Energy, something in you, needs to be manifested, brought into form, transmitted, so to speak. And here's the beauty of types. So when we know what being a manifestor means, and we know what those tendencies are, we can start to be the best version of that thing. But we're still us. So I'm going to be begging you, or begging, I don't think I'm begging you. I'm going to be encouraging you to straddle that line between identifying the thing that you are, to see those tendencies, but also not so, don't hold on to the labels so much. And certainly don't criticize yourself if you're falling into any of the low frequency of this. This system, to me, what I find so valuable about it, how it's changed my life, is that I have become an observer of myself in so many ways. And that has allowed me to see my behavior from an objective perspective. And to see my behavior from an objective perspective. To know that as a manifesting generator, there's going to be some things that naturally pull me. That naturally come up for me. That I'm always going to have these themes that sort of recur in my life. And how do I find my way through those things? That's what I find the value of this to be. And type is such a powerful piece because it is connected to our aura. The quality of our energy is determined by the quality of our life as it relates to our type. If we're out of alignment with our type, then it's going to throw off our energy in so many ways. So first of all, manifestors, all types get a signature theme and a not self theme. And the signature theme is the green light. That's the thing that tells you you're on the right path. You're good. When you're in your signature, you're going to be magnetic. People are going to want to be around you. People are going to want to do things for you. People are going to be excited about you as a person. They're going to be drawn to you. When you're in your not self theme, the opposite is going to happen. And the opposite for this, for manifestors, so when manifestors are angry, that is their not self theme, they're not terribly magnetic in that place. People are pretty afraid of them because it's a very powerful energy. Anger is their fuel in a lot of ways. They get angry about something that they see. They get pissed off about something that they see that's wrong. And they're like, I have a vision for how this could be different. It becomes kind of their creative fuel a lot of times. I look at Jerry Seinfeld is a manifestor. And he's always talked about how his anger, I'm mad about everything. His anger fueled all of his comedy. And he says, he's like, I think all comics are angry. I think they're all mad about something. And that might be somewhat true, but that's his perspective because he's a manifestor and he knows he's pissed off about stuff often. Doesn't mean he's exploding with anger everywhere. And it doesn't mean that he's repelling people all the time. But he's a specific type of person. But it's the anger that fueled his success. I get mad about something, and then I work the joke, and I work my point of view, and I work my perspective on it, and then I put it out there. Manifestors are very creative people. They usually have a lot of creative energy. And that can come from anger. It's usually things that they see wrong with the world. And then they will, if they wait long enough, and waiting really requires just rest, they're the only ones whose strategy has nothing to do with the outside world. So generators, it's to respond, right? Projectors, to wait for the invitation. Something from the outside world is coming in and saying, and giving them that jolt into action, activating their energy. Now manifestors, they have this big, bold, repelling aura, big energy. If you're in the presence of a manifestor, if you're aware enough and you walk into groups, this is a little test I have for you. If you don't like somebody at first, if you start to get like kind of, I don't know if they like me or if I like them, or there's just something about them that's kind of standoffish, take a moment and just leave space for the fact that maybe they're a manifestor. You'd have to spend a little bit more time and get to know what it feels like, but I can usually feel when I'm in the presence of a manifestor, whether I know their type or not. Because there is a pushing back of their energy. Now, a lot of manifestors, what they will do is throughout their life, they will be incredibly, and certainly if they have a 4-line in their profile, I've noticed they will be very welcoming to other people. They'll maybe go out of their way to build those bridges, to draw people in because they know this about themselves. And the balance here is to not be in people-pleasing energy, which is not the vibe. That will actually put them out of their power. But to recognize that people will feel that and to hold the door open for them when they're in your presence. If you're a manifestor, you may have to hold that door a little more deliberately and longer for people to really know that you're open. And you might find that people feel very competitive with you. Manifestor children are seen as a problem. They're seen as rebellious because they don't need people like other people do. They're here for a mission, and their mission isn't dependent on other people. Let me clarify that a bit. So what manifestors are really here for, their role is to have a vision, is to blaze a trail, is to show a new way to do something, bring something new creatively to the space. They have ideas, new ones usually. They've got a new way to do something. or they have something new that nobody's ever seen. So they have to have a lot of courage. They have to have a lot of courage. And there is something about manifestors that when they know, they know. And it's not because somebody told them or they had a conversation with this person or they know. Now, whether they trust that knowing is a completely different thing. That's totally separate. When they start to do this work, they start to trust it more. They start to say, like, when I know, I know. Okay, I know that about myself. This is what I mean. It's not about I'm a manifestor, so it's just by learning to trust that I don't need an outside influence to make me trust myself. In fact, it's probably just outside influences that made me not trust myself because I thought people didn't like me when I did something, or I thought they wouldn't support my vision if I told them what it was, or because people got mad at me when I went and did things before, and then I developed a belief that people don't support me. So they don't require the outside world. Their strategy is to inform. They get the idea, now it's your job just to tell people. And why? That's just so you don't seem so jarring and unpredictable, or like you leave people behind. It's a lot for their feelings. And it's also to get you support for the thing that you want to create. Think about it. Manifestors don't have a sacral center defined. Not all the time anyway. Transits, of course, will do it. But it's not theirs. It's not sustainable for them. They don't have sustainable energy to build the things that they want to create. They might have it once, but they don't have it forever. So they will relax, sit back in their rest cycle because they need to rest, because the sacrals are going to wake up every day recharged and ready to go just like they were yesterday. If you have a sacral defined, you probably take for granted how much energy you have. Because even when you're tired, you wake up, if you get a good night's sleep, you're probably going to wake up feeling pretty good. Whereas a manifestor or a projector or a reflector, they might not have that level. They might not make it. They can't work a 12-hour day like a generator can if they're into it. Now, a manifestor is slightly an exception here because they'll do it, but then they could do it for a day, a two, 3, 4. They're going to get the urge to move. That's what we call it, the creative urge. They get this creative urge to go on something. And now if they don't second guess it, and they don't worry about what someone else will think, and they don't look to give their energy away to somebody else, usually they're not the worst culprits of that. But because they can feel like people don't like them, because they have that stigma, that feeling and belief that people don't support them, they can sometimes go into people pleasing, which means they self-abandon and they give to others. Doesn't work, in my experience, very well for manifestors. The minute a manifestor starts self-abandoning, they start getting pissed at themselves. They start getting so mad at themselves for doing that. Why? Because they knew. They know things because they have this direct channel to the divine, so to speak, source, whatever you want to call it. They have this direct channel where the outside world isn't involved. Just wake up with an idea. Strikes like lightning on them directly. Now, the job is to go do the thing. But first, the strategy is to inform. Now, this strategy is really just to soften the path, to not put resistance in the way, because the resistance comes from other people or comes from the manifestor's perception of how other people are reacting to them activating and going on their vision. Because when a manifestor gets the knowing, when they get that feeling, it shifts almost instantly. They're just like, I've got to do this. It becomes something that they have to do. It's not an option. It is something imperative. But if they have that belief that people don't support them, they can hold back. It isn't about what other people will think. It's never about that in general, but it's really not about that for the manifestor. They have to dare to go where nobody's gone before. They have to dare to look silly or for people to think they're crazy, because the first people to do something usually do look crazy to a large portion of the population. But manifestors, they've got a big thing. But here's what happens. When things aren't going a manifestor's way and they feel unsupported, so this can happen in childhood. We see this with kids. So if you have a manifestor child, you might see them if they feel like you tell them no too often, or they just go off and do something and then you yell at them for going off to do the thing that felt totally right to them. They don't have the mechanism like the rest of us to ask permission, which is why they have to be taught that. And that's for their own protection, so that they don't develop this unconscious belief that everybody just always tells me no, so I'll just do it myself. So they isolate. The minute someone tells them no, so if you have a manifestor kid, and if you're a manifestor, I want you to think back to your childhood. Did this happen? Think back to your teen years. Think back to college. Think back to like throughout your life. Look at the stages, and were your ideas supported and, met with openness, or were you told no? Were you shot down? Because if you were, you want to ask yourself, did I develop a habit or a belief that when I want something, other people won't get it? So then where does that go? I'll do it myself. So then you isolate, you squirrel away, and you're like, I'm not going to tell anybody. Easier to ask for forgiveness than it is for permission, right? So this is where rebelliousness, at least in the perspective of other people, can develop. And what we're doing is then now we're creating that isolated manifestor. These are leaders. If you're a manifestor, you are a leader. Doesn't have to mean that you have a large group of people around you. It just means that your example sets the tone. And it either inspires people or it can make them afraid of you. What will usually happen as a manifestor at peace can be one of the most grounding, supportive, just amazing energies to be around. It's like being around like a goddess, that's telling you it's all going to be all right. I get it, because you feel all that power, but it's so controlled and it's so at peace and at ease that it's like there's nothing more comforting than that, because it's like, oh, I believe she's got this. I believe he's got this. But get a manifestor angry or get them into isolation where there's low-grade anger happening below the surface all the time. No, people don't feel that. You'll push people away. If you show up being like, I'm going to show you how good you are, but I know you're probably going to say no anyway, you're probably not going to get what you want out of that. If you're showing up and you get clients in some way, so you have sales calls or you have meetings with people, you're trying to get them to choose you. If you're showing up in all of your manifestor power, holding the door open to let people know that you are a safe place, boldly expressing your ideas and your vision, you're holding that with the belief that when you are in full alignment with that vision, other people will see it. And if they don't see it, that's okay. Someone else will. And these just aren't your people. That energetic alignment with it is everything. But if you show up with the belief in your heart or in your energy that they're not going to get it, I know they're not going to get it, they're probably going to want, I've got my whole thing about how I'm going to tell them that this is the right way. You're pushing them away before you even get in the room. And in the other way, you're winning them over before you even get in the room, before you even open your mouth. Hold the door open and then state the vision with all of your power and purpose that every single one of your creations and visions has. You're so creative. Manifestors are some of the most creative people, and their vision is so strong. The balance is to meet all of that with openness. There's a funny video of Matt Damon telling a story about Tom Cruise that's gone around online for a while. And he's saying how he talked to Tom Cruise, like, I met him once, and he's this really intense guy. Tom Cruise is a manifestor. He's this really intense guy, which I think you can get from Tom Cruise. And he says, he's like, I asked him about this stunt that he did where he's like walking on the outside of a plane, and he's like, yeah. I thought about that shot for years. He's like, so I tell the stunt guy, I get the stunt guy, I'm like, tell him my whole idea. I go through the whole thing with him. And he says, can't do it. It's too dangerous. Matt Damon's telling the story. He's like, so I was like, what happened? And Tom Cruise just looks at him without skipping a beat. And he's like, so I got a new stunt guy. That's a manifestor. They will not be deterred. There's nobody that's going to stand in their way. He asked for support. He said, here's what I want to do. You're the expert. I've got the idea. Here's what I'm going to do. And he lays it all out for him. This is what we're going to do. The guy says, no, it's too dangerous. And he's like, all right, you're not my guy. Okay, next. And he gets another guy. Obviously, someone said, this is how we can do it. That's a manifestor in high expression. Now, I'm not advocating that any of you go walking on the outside of planes or doing anything dangerous against the advice of professionals. But that is a manifestor who's like, my vision is the most important thing. This is going to be amazing. Now I just need the right person to help me make that vision come to a reality. And that is the attitude that manifestors will flourish with if they adopt it. So I hope you like this. I hope you like us kicking off the type series. If you want to check out the Secret Podcast, if you're interested in human design, business, what it takes to build, scale, and grow a successful multi-six-figure business using your human design as a guide, we've created that. That is what that entire podcast is all about. All you have to do to get it is DM me the word Secret Podcast on Instagram. I'm at Nicole Lano Official. Please only include those words. If you put like smiley faces and stuff, it screws up the bot and you won't get it. So just send me Secret Podcast. I'm at Nicole Lano Official, or go to NicoleLano.com/secret podcast. You can get it right there, or go to the show notes. We have it all linked up for you, nice and neat. And we hope that we see you in the next episode when we dive into our next type. I won't tell you which one it is. You're going to have to tune in and find out. But I appreciate you for being here. Thank you so much. And remember, in order to have an unshakable business, you must first become an unshakable human. So thanks for letting us help you become unshakable with human design, everyone. We'll see you next time.